Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.
Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Good morning and welcome to our second Wednesday meeting for 2010. Commissioner Kalo has the dog for today. It's a dog his size.
Our featured pet today is about a year to year and a half male. He was found on Lennox Drive in Amherst. He's a German Shepherd Rot mix. Adorable dog, friendly, docile, looking for a good home. Right, pup? What do you think? Come here. Yeah? You think so? Okay.
I'll take it.
He'll be
Those are
available
the same
for
kind of cookies he
adoption.
gives to Lori and me.
I've got biscuits.
We don't
for
make
each of
quite the
you.
messes.
He'll be available for adoption at 3 o'clock on Saturday. And if you're not interested in a large dog, we've got a lot of small dogs also. So stop by the kennel and find a new friend today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Clerk?
Today we'll have a public hearing on the intent to designate the solid waste facility at 9:45 under resolutions, job and family services bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
So
Appropriations.
moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Advances, repayments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez?
Thank you, Madam President. I do have some potential new hires at Golden Acres, maybe Job and Family Services, and a number of labor relations issues I need to discuss with the board. Those are topics allowable under the Sunshine Law for an executive session, so I request that we adjourn into an executive session to conclusion of our regular board meeting today to do so.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the same for the County Commissioners meeting minutes for January 11th and 15th, which was Child Care 2010.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Blair.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Establish compensation for law directors prosecuting violations of state law in municipal courts, Ohio Revised Code 1901.34C for the year 2010. Lorain, Elyria, and Oberlin, 10,000. North Ridgeville and Amherst, 7,500. Avon Lake, Avon, Sheffield Village, Sheffield Lake, 5,000. South Amherst, Wellington, 2,000. Kipton, Rochester, Grafton, Vermillion, and LaGrange, 1,000.
Mr. Ennis, you negotiated these items. Would you just like to comment, please?
These were negotiated several years ago. And they are subject to review each year, and one of the provisions that was included in that was consideration of the pending economy. So if the commissioners feel that it's appropriate to make a cut that reflects, or increase that reflects what we're doing with the other budgetary items. I believe that's within the discretion of the commissioners to do so. Of course, you always wonder what kind of situation that will generate, but if there ever was a situation in which the economy is not good and there would be justification for a reduction, it would seem to be now.
Questions or comments?
Didn't realize we had that ability. I know we had a question about a couple of them a couple of years ago, but I don't remember we have the ability to cut those.
Well, the original agreement we reached has very specific language that these are subject to economic, I forget the exact language, but it was subject to the economic conditions in the county.
Do you want to further review it?
Yeah, I'd rather look at that legislation and that contract if you could.
Okay.
Let's hold this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You have a question, Mr. Cortez?
Just talking to council.
Oh, okay.
To move on, number 12, Teresa.
Authorize the severance wages of Alan Wack, former Larry Bailiff, in the amount of $18,811.66, reflecting the county's 2/5 share.
Okay, now this is not an item over which we have also moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Job and Family, amend Resolution 09440 adopted June 25, 2009, approving and entering an agreement with Ace Taxi Service for non-emergency medical transportation services. Said amendment is to reflect an increase by $110,000 for a total not to exceed $235,000 ending June 30, 2010.
Mr. Cortez, do you have any comment on this item? Number 13.
No, it's pretty standard fare, Commissioner, that Job and Families does this every year with regard to transportation services for those that are in need.
And this is not something that we could do with our Lorain County Transit. It's for other items,
Right.
correct?
Unfortunately, we're
Point to
precluded
point.
with, excuse me?
This is point-to-point transportation.
And
right?
I was gonna say, it says an increase by 110,000, so maybe because the transit has been cut, they are relying on additional services.
Well, I know there's increased need, and of course, Job and Family Services is doing a pretty good job trying to meet that. With the absence of dollar ride, there probably will be more people eligible. And let me back up on this statement, not the absence of dollar ride, but the curtailing of the distance that dollar ride is able to go right now due to the economic conditions at transit will certainly see the need increase. And as Commissioner Kalo began to indicate, it's point to point, we are barred from providing charter service outside of dollar ride. So we would not be able to specifically provide this type of service.
Thank you. Also move.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Amend various resolutions with vendors for the year 2009. Said amendments authorize Director of Job and Families to reflect programming content and increased value of agreements as a result of transportation usage. Child care in addition to allocation utilizing federal and state monies effective January 1st, 2010 for all contracts commencing on or after July 1st, 2009.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under solid waste, approve the following request for recycled computers. Do we want to do these individually? I believe everybody's here that's receiving them. Is that okay?
Mhm.
Dan? We'll do the first one.
Okay.
Employment Network Veterans.
Good morning, Mr. Billman.
Morning, Dan. Morning, Commissioners. Dan Billman, Solid Waste Director for the Commissioners. We have three people that would like to have computers today. As you've already said, OD, JFS, the Nord Center, and the Urban League. I think we have Peter Obajay here that would like to say a few words. He's from the Urban League. And I don't know whether we have anybody from the Employment Network or the Nord Center. Nord Center? Peter? You're on.
Thank you, Diana. Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Peter.
Morning.
I bring you greetings from our President Fred Wright he would be here today, but he's out of town. Um, and he did ask me to express appreciation for you considering our request. One of these programs, the Urban Empowerment Program, is very unique in that we recruit young people. To put it modestly, I call them people who have made undesirable contact with the law.
That's an interesting way to put
And
it.
we put them through community service that allows the community to see them giving back. We put them through training to be workplace ready. And some of them are placed in internship positions around the county where they are coached by people who can mentor them so that they become used to the way the world works. In fact, I think we have a young lady who is working with the, who's already in the courts, work in the municipal court. So we have opportunity to place them even with you, the commissioners, if you so request. Right now we have 35 in the pipeline. We are going to serve 50 of them, and they are doing very well. And what the computers will do is provide us the opportunity for them to get more hands-on experience on 21st century skills. That we bounce them around to get training here and there, and transportation issues get in the way of them getting to different places to use computer labs. So that's a vital piece of our request. The Read and Write program is our early literacy program. And again, these are young people who ordinarily would not take computers for granted because of the homes they come from. And we want to get them an early start in learning how to use so many learning tools now that everything is online. It doesn't matter who you call, they say go online. And until young people become so well adapted to that technology, it's going to be difficult for them to cope. So that's what our request is all about. And an Oberlin College student the other day who's an intern with me, she looked over all our programs and she said, how do you guys do it? Because we have actually created jobs in this economy. And I said, it's called leveraging. We don't have cash to pay for all the services we provide, but we depend on the goodwill of others to help us bridge gaps where they exist in the services we provide. And that's what you will be doing if you honor our request. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, for coming this morning.
You guys provide very valuable service.
Thanks.
And we have Amy Gonzalez here from the Nord Center.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am here, I guess, to give you a tip about what our clerical program is. And what we do is we work with all kinds of individuals, mostly with people with disabilities. We do have partnership with BVR, the Bureau of Vocational Rehab, the Bureau of Workmen's Comp, the VA. But on top of that, we work with Jobs and Family Services. We currently have a grant with that works with our TANF population. And what this clerical skills program is to help update individuals' clerical skills. So if it would not be without these programs and without these computers, we would be unable to do so. The computers we currently have now are very dated, probably 10 years old. They're super slow. We have to bang them sometimes, shut down, restart. We only have 9, so we have not been able to start a wait list for new trainees coming in. So with these additional computers, we'd be able to expand our program and not turn away referrals.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
The next one is from Mr. Ronald Ramsey from the Employment Network. He is the veterans rep for the Employment Network, and they're asking for one computer for, I believe it's one of their veteran people. And when I talked to him, it was a need to where the person couldn't afford to have a computer, and he needs one for school. So all three of them are, all the paperwork's been done, and I'd recommend approval on them. Thank you.
Mr. Bellman. Also moved.
I'll second.
Further discussion? Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Children's Services, authorize various additions and deletions of personnel in Children's Services to utilize the agency's Visa card for the year 2010, not exceeds 2,500, 10,000, and 20,000, and Shell Oil Gasoline card not to exceed 200. Expenditures are work related to conferences, food, lodging, telephone, gas, and oil, minor vehicle maintenance, and emergency repairs on county-owned or leased vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Developmental Disabilities, approve agreement between Lorain County Board of Developmental Disabilities and Lorain County Prosecutor for the support of developmentally disabled individuals in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 5705.15 and 16, and the fees for the year 2010 and 11 will be $31,023.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Domestic, approve the request of Domestic Relations Court funding of $44,047 to be requested for the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act State Fiscal Year 10 Drug Court Funding Restoration Project. This provide substance abuse programs to individuals and families through court specialized dockets, and no cash match is required.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the engineer, authorized 25% freeze-thaw load limit on various township roads in Carlisle Township. The thaw and moisture period in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 5577.07, effective February 1st through May 1st, 2010.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Work contract to R&I Construction TIF in the amount of $403,443.67 for the Quarry Road Bridge 0820 replacement project. 10 bids were received on December 29, 2009, this being the most responsive complying with specifications. Issue notice to proceed letter on or before February 1st and complete on or before June 5th. Authorized county administrator to notify the county auditor to release retainage at completion of project, and this will be paid from the bridge projects and OPWC accounts.
Mr. Carney's here this morning. Did you want to say anything about this project, Ken? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under probate, create fund 2850 probate court dispute resolution trust fund. This is for the purpose of paying fees for mediators who will attempt to settle cases before the probate court. Ohio Revised Code 2101.163 allows a reasonable fee not to exceed $15 to be collected on filing of each action or proceeding and to be used to implement procedures.
Mr. Cortez and Mr. Ennis, I'm assuming this is a new fund we're creating?
It's a new fund, and it's a new fee levied by the probate court. You really have nothing to do with the fee structure. That's up to the probate judge. We are simply required by code to authorize establishment of the fund within the county budgetary structure to place those funds into that account. But this is strictly up to the probate judge.
Are there limitations on what he can use this money for? Can he use this money for salaries?
To be completely honest with you, I didn't go that far into the regulations with regard to its overall complete use. I do know it's allowable for what he wants to use it for, and it's new. I can obviously do more research. I wasn't sure that it was necessary, but if you wait till next week, I can find out.
Well, I don't have to know. I mean, it says here fees for mediators, which is fine, but I'd like to know if he could also use it to reduce the expenses of his department.
I think one of the reasons he implemented that, Commissioner, I had some talks with Judge Walter a few weeks ago, was to pick up some of the 3% cut that he took. It's allowed by law to help pay for some of his staff?
It's probably a push-pull. He's probably going to offset some of the costs that he has already for these services
Right.
with this fee, and then he'll push that over to his salary accounts.
Correct, Jerry? You're shaking your head
Right.
yes.
This would have to be used for the mediators, but
Mhm.
he's paying for them now from some other source, so that will relieve the stress on those other funds.
Okay.
Thank you. Also moved.
I'll second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under the Sheriff, receive and file Lorain County Sheriff's Annual Report in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 325.31 for all unpaid fees for more than 1 year prior to January 1st, 2009, in the amount of $1,476,553.91.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve and enter into various maintenance agreements with SunGuard effective January 1st, 2010 through December 31st, 2010, to be paid from contract service account, $748.80 for the MTDs, and $27,550 for a software booking record system.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Do we want to go to
Yes, to the
Hearing?
hearing. Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Billman? The hearing on the intent.
Okay, we're here today to have a public hearing to designate a solid waste facility. I don't have anything else to say on that. If there's any questions, we do have Michael Greenberg here. He could answer your questions that need be.
I guess the reason the hearing is here today, we continued it from the December, well, what was the date? December 10th? Do I have, right? At any rate, we continued it because there was some question about the notification of township representatives, if I'm correct, Jerry?
Well, that was part right. We have done that. Where we are in the process is we're kind of in the middle steps of it. This is a preliminary designation. If you go forward with this takes it on to the next step where we review the proposals that have been received, sit down and attempt to negotiate a contract. And as we discussed the last time, that gives you an opportunity to look at the fee reduction request made by Republic, and also to look at issues regarding controlling where the waste is sent to. So what would happen if you proceed is those negotiations would happen. There would be an attempt to negotiate a contract. Then it comes back for one more time for a final designation. So this still doesn't finalize anything. It just takes it on to the next step to be able to attempt to negotiate something. But we'll have one more hearing similar to this if you get to the point where you reach a contract that's agreeable.
Well, Dan, hey, while you're up here, I might as well start because I've been beating you up pretty good all week. So we've got our estimated expenditures and the amount of money received last year for 2010. And it's a pretty grim scene. Agreed?
Yes, it is. We're
I-
trying to work through it.
I attended the Solid Waste Policy Committee meeting last week. The Commissioner Blair so graciously lets me attend for her. And the original thought was that the recycling grants would be about a 20% cut versus the past because of reduced revenues. But as Dan's pointed out, and the commissioners all have copies of this estimated expenditures, we have some new costs that we didn't have in the past. Primarily, we've got the deputies now that we are funding. That's $160,000 approximately for the litter enforcement. We have the incentive program now, which is $402,500 to communities who did take the volume-based systems that we didn't pay in the past, new line item. We have the new collection center, which is supposed to get our recycling up that we're working on now that the solid waste department is leasing. And then additional staff to handle that. We're looking at $750,000, $800,000 more in additional expenditures than what we have in the past with declining revenues. Again, it's not pretty. and my discussions with Allied, Mr. Kidder's here today and his boss Peter, that they are looking towards this, and even without the Cuyahoga County dumping, if we are able to move this forward and discuss a rate reduction, we're still only going to generate $2.5 to $2.6 million next year, Mr. Kidder? Okay, thank you. He's shaking his head for those of you who don't see him. We did have opposition against this from the city of Lorain and Mayor Krashenko. And he negotiates very well. We were on the phone this morning. Actually, he isn't able to attend today because they're going to take over a $200,000 cut in their grant funding for next year. But we're working out some issues that he still has to address under maybe community grants and or commissioners grants. And he has chosen to drop his opposition to moving forward on this. Mr. Rittenauer, you're here representing the mayor today. Any discussion, anything you'd like to say in regards to the mayor of City of Lorain?
Before you have Chase come up, you just mentioned the community grants or the commissioner's grants. Are there gonna be, do you have commissioner grants or the
Yes, there
other
is a-
in the line item budget for this year?
There is a line item.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
also haven't touched any of the carryover that has come through between $700,000 and $800,000 to shore up some of the accounts. Mr. Rittenauer, good morning.
Chase Rittenauer with Mayor Krashenko's office. Mayor Krashenko can't be here today. He sends his regrets, but sent me to let you know that he does wish to drop the opposition to the adjustment in the plan. So for whatever that's worth, the opposition from the city of Lorain is dropped. So I don't know if you have any other further questions for me or for the mayor, but I'd be willing to entertain those now.
I don't, but thank
Okay.
you for.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chase.
For those of you who aren't familiar with the solid waste program, basically any approval and all approval, especially as you go in a year of designing a new plan, and this doesn't have to go through the approval process, but the city of Lorain has extended their garbage contract. They've negotiated a fair rate that the mayor is happy with for 3 years, and the new plan will go into effect in 2012. Hopefully we can get one together working cooperatively. So it'll be able to be readdressed, because this is only through the rest of this plan per the legislation, correct, Mr. Ennis? This is only through the end of our solid waste plan.
That's correct.
Okay, so it will be renegotiated, changed in that plan for everybody's approval. But through the approval process, all solid waste plans have to be approved by county commissioners, have to be approved by the largest city, which is the city of Lorain, and then by 51% of the rest of the communities. 60% by the rest of the communities? Thank you, Michael. I saw Dale back there shaking his head, so thank you for the help. But I mean, currently, we're gonna have to make some additional cuts. I'd like to see us work somewhere into the carryover to get some of those grants back up where they belong. Even if it has to be 25%, like I said, talking with solid waste and the board previously on this, we're looking at 20% cut. But it might have to be 25 or 30% if we can get to that number, Dan, working off your budget when Marilyn gets back because her father-in-law has passed away. If not, you know, there is the ability for Allied to take their waste out of the county, and we would receive $1.3 to $1.5 million for our solid waste district in total. I don't know if you have any discussion with that, Mr. Greenberg, since you are a consultant and our expert on this.
The budget is what the expenses are. The revenues are tied to what Republic can bring into this facility, and they are blessed with numerous landfills in Northeast Ohio that they have options as far as where they can take their waste and where it's most cost effective for them to deliver that waste from Cuyahoga County. And previously, they had been delivering their waste down to Stark County and out to Mahoney County and to Lorain County. And this agreement and designation process would have all of the Cuyahoga County waste come to Lorain County, which would provide the funding for the district's programs. If they pull that because they didn't get their lower fee, then there would be a significant cut to the amount of waste. They're saying that there's going to be a significant cut to the amount of waste that's going to be delivered to the Lorain County landfill. Thereby, the out-of-district fees would be greatly reduced and impact the budget severely here.
What are they paying out of county? What's the Mahoning County rate, the Stark County rate, and what's their major competitor paying for their dumping for out-of-district waste?
Rumpke, what's happened in the last year is that there was a merger between BFI and Republic, or Allied and Republic. And what happened there is the United States Attorney General made Republic divest of certain facilities. One of them was the Richland County landfill, which was under their control before, and none of the waste was really flowing there from this area. Well, now Rumpke Waste Systems from southwestern Ohio, they're located in Cincinnati. They're a large regional landfill operator, has purchased that facility as well as a transfer station in Cuyahoga County. So they have begun to ship waste to Richland County. And for the next 3 years or 2.5 years, Richland County had a contract with Republic, which was accepted by Rumpke, whereby they pay $1 for out-of-district waste that's coming into their facility, and we're at $4. I believe Mahoning County is the same, around $1. I believe Stark County is in the $2 range. So when we looked at the competitive area and activities of the landfills and their disposal fee or generation fee charges, Lorain County at $4 was higher than the other communities. That really didn't matter until this divestiture and all the players changed in the marketplace.
So would you say Allied/Republic is a competitive disadvantage versus, I mean, especially in our own landfill versus
in
other
certain
landfills?
cases, that is correct, yes. Especially from Cuyahoga County waste on the eastern side of the county. It'd be cheaper to take it over to Mahoning County, but they'll agree to bring it all here if the fees are reduced.
So we stand to lose $1.2 million if we don't reduce the fees a year.
Somewhere in that range. In discussions with them, they believe they'll bring in around 790,000 tons on an annual basis. And then there's the other issue that the city of Cleveland is now being managed by Rumpke. That contract may be reissued and they may go out for bid. It's at the city's option, is my understanding, was a 1 year and then a 1 year renewal at the city's option. If they go back out for bid and Republic is successful, that material could come here and bring you back up to the $2.9 to $3.2 million level.
Which is needed to keep the district healthy and administrating the programs it administrates and following the plan.
Correct.
Do you see any impact on the residents, whether we approve or not approve the reduction in fees?
Well, the residents in Lorain County are paying $2 a ton, and that will not change. So there shouldn't be a cost to the residents that would change in Lorain County at all.
But if we don't keep Allied or / Republic healthy, then they are, like when the fuel charge
programs.
went up,
Right.
I mean, they're gonna pass the cost on to the
Well,
residents,
yeah,
basically,
well, I think
one
fuel-
way or another, somehow it's gonna impact our residents. That's what I wanna know. How is it gonna impact our residents?
How it would impact the residents is that the district wouldn't have the funding to provide the programming that they have right now, including the grants, including all the collection programs that the district offers and is required to offer under the solid waste management plan. If the budget goes down to 1.3 million, there will not be funding for half those programs.
Well, the way I've been looking at, Mike, it's still a job retention, at least speaking with Mr. Kidder, it's a job retention. A lot of those employees are Lorain County residents.
Correct. They've indicated to me there's 200 jobs out at that facility or more than that could be impacted. Again, if they're not bringing the waste in, they don't need as many people to operate the facilities. that
Yeah,
could
I
also
gotta
be an
look
issue.
at it, I mean, through the process, and we don't vote on it until we close the meeting, correct, Mr. Ennis?
Right.
But, I mean, my intent is to, I mean, it's a job retention. It's no different than what the Lorain County Growth Partnership does upstairs to retain the jobs we have here currently. And it's no additional cost to our residents in Lorain County. It stays the same for them. And the benefit is continuing the employment of those other people who do spend their earnings here with sales tax receipts and keep their properties going in property taxes, and their income taxes are paid to their communities, so. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
That's
Ms.
okay.
Commissioner Blair, you
This
were gonna
is
say
a
something?
public hearing, is it
Right,
not?
you will
Yes.
have to have public comment
Okay.
before we
So,
conclude.
thank you for your comments, Mr.
Thank you.
Greenberg.
I had,
You have more questions? Don't leave, Michael. You have a question for Michael?
I'll wait after the public has a chance to speak.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to ask a question or make a comment on this proposal that
I
is
see our
before?
township trustee out there.
There's several out there. Please, if you have a comment or question, come to the microphone and state your name so that we can hear as well, and then we can all hear the question and answer.
Howard Aiken, Amherst Township Fiscal Officer. I sit on the Policy Committee.
Good morning, Howard.
I'd like Mr. Greenberg to explain how many years that will reduce the landfill life by increasing this this waste coming in from Cuyahoga County.
Okay, Michael, can you look in your crystal ball and tell us how many years that will reduce the life?
I do not have the specific numbers, but if you just look at it, it's been typically running for the past 10, 15 years at about 600,000 to 650,000 tons from outside the district. They're talking about bringing another 125,000 without Cleveland. If it included Cleveland, it'd be another 250, so 375, about a third more in addition to what we've traditionally had. I believe there's over 20 years capacity out there now. So I haven't done the calculations. We could certainly run those to determine how many years of life would be reduced because of this increase.
And this will still be within the confines of what is allowed by New Russia Township?
Not only New Russia Township, but the Ohio EPA. The Ohio EPA gives them a maximum daily receipt limit, and New Russia Township, I believe, has an annual receipt limit. So they'd have to operate within those specifications.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from the audience?
Anyone from New Russia? I think I saw John Blinsky walk in.
He's back
Comments?
there.
I saw him somewhere.
He's in the back. He's
Oh, there he
hiding.
is. He's hiding.
You're okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna reduce the amount of life in our landfill by a third, and we're still not gonna get the same amount of revenue as we're getting last year.
It wouldn't be by a third. It's an additional third onto the out of district. You're still putting in district waste in there, so it'd be much less than a third. But I'd have to run the numbers to see. There would be a reduction based on the amount of additional waste. But I guess remember, this is a private company. They try to make a profit. Their objective is to fill the landfill.
Well, also, don't you think, Michael, down the road, we will be, a lot of that garbage that is going in there now will be used for other energy /
Waste to
recyc-
energy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
there's a lot of other benefits to bringing that here that's not going to end up directly in the landfill. That won't be reclaimed or reused, or, I mean, currently we're generating energy out there now from the methane, and there's other.
We're at the very beginning, what I see with changes in how we handle our waste. And there's many, many projects out there that are looking at waste to energy and using this material in much different ways. I think in the next 10 to 15 years, before that landfill is even closed, you will see these new processes come on for sustainability, creating energy, and there'll be different ways of using the material as we are doing today.
Mike Challenger hosted a program, well, it was really your program, Dan, but you weren't there on Monday, about waste to energy, and a blanket comment was made regarding what you two gentlemen who just said, within the next 10 years or so. That's the way garbage is going to be taken care of. Couldn't be soon enough to suit me. Any other comments or questions from the audience? This is an opportunity. If you have a question, we have some experts here.
Come on
Neil,
up.
come to the microphone, please.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, Ted. I'm Neil Lynch from Amherst Township. Unfortunately, I wasn't prepared for this, but have received considerable amount of information through the local news media, which we do appreciate. I hope when the Commissioners consider any reduction in those disposal fees that they try and get some real financials, and perhaps you have them, but I haven't seen those really shared in the news media, to see what are we really talking about in terms of the percentage of cost of that waste that's going into our landfill, or potentially waste that, worst case, we lose and it goes to someone else's landfill along with the potential revenue. The only thing I can do, and unfortunately I didn't bring a calculator today, so I'm trying to do this the old
We
way.
got our human calculator here today.
Well, maybe you can help me here, but if I recall, the average amount of waste that's produced per person is about 4 pounds per day, and that includes the portion that we're recycling. And if you take between 2.2 and 2.4 persons per household, which is what we have here in Lorain County by the last census, which is now a decade old, we're talking about 8.8 pounds per day per household. 30 days per month gives you 264 pounds per month per household. I can only go by the bill that I received from Allied, and they provide a valuable service, good employment. This is not a bash on Allied. This is strictly trying to get the numbers in my head to determine what are we looking at in terms of percentage. Well, if I take that $20 per month and divide it by that 264 pounds, I'm paying somewhere between 9 and 10 cents a pound to have my waste taken care of. If I consider this $4 out of district, because I assume the same amount of waste is coming from Cuyahoga County, I assume somebody's paying for it there at least as much as I'm paying, or I certainly hope they're not getting a better deal than residents in Lorain County are. That comes out to 0.2 of a cent per pound. Now I try to figure, well, what is that as a percentage of a bill? Well, in Cuyahoga County, if they're paying the same amount as I am, that works out to 2.7% of that total bill and cost. Now realize there's also a revenue stream that Allied should be generating from the recyclable portion. So that should balance it out. So when I really look at this isn't a high percentage of Allied's cost, at least from the numbers available to me. I realize there's a portion that's unknown, so I'm really not sure if this is all just posturing by a private enterprise to earn more money, if it's really something that's going to be detrimental to us. And I know there is the concern with losing the revenue stream if they don't bring that waste to our landfill, but at the same time, from the long-term strategic standpoint, that actually meets the goal of our plan and the goal when this statute was originally set up of conserving our landfill, which is really going to be important to the future of Lorain County as Lorain County grows, and particularly for our business and industrial sector that also uses the same landfill. So I just hope that you look at the numbers here, and let's not try and be short-sighted on the potential revenue we can realize short-term that we've all become accustomed to and maybe somewhat addicted to at the jeopardy of what our long-term strategy should be for dealing with waste here in Lorain County. So thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Anyone else? Comment, Michael? Sure.
Just as a comment that this isn't a long-term, forever deal. This is a request for lowering that fee only until Richland County basically is going to have to make a decision to either keep their dollar the same or raise it up, which what everybody anticipates is that Richland County is going to raise their fees in, I believe it's in 2.5 years. So it's a short-term agreement. It doesn't go on forever. And
they're asking it
it's a narrow window.
to be reduced from $4 to
$2.60.
$2.60.
And at the end of that time frame, it would go back up to $4.
And did these other landfills recently or at some point not long ago reduce their costs or their fees, or has theirs always been a lot lower than ours? Because ours have been established at $4 for how long? Forever?
Since the beginning of time.
Right,
Yeah.
so it's not like we've been increasing that all these years and now all of a sudden they can't afford this.
Originally, the law was inflexible, and you were required to set your fees at $2 or $4, or not have the fee at all. And then the law gave flexibility and allowed people to establish them anywhere between, I think, 50 cents and $2, and then anywhere from $2 up to $4 for the out-of-district fee. So I don't know if they've recently changed them or not. I believe they've been in place for quite a while.
How was Richland County ever to be $1 out of district if the rules were between 2 and 4?
Richland County is a generation fee, I believe.
Oh, so they don't have a fee
Or
for
is it a contract fee? I believe it's a contract fee. So it's different.
Right.
It's
not
different
like
than the
ours are
$2,
fixed.
$4.
Okay.
There's 3 ways to generate money, and that they are not on the $2, $4 system, which we are.
Which the other counties aren't either, by the numbers you stated.
Mahoning County, correct.
They're
Yeah.
by contract.
Right.
So that changes based on their plan every 5 years?
Or the contract length of
Or the
time.
contract length?
Do you have a recommendation for us as far as this goes? And the other question I have is from Jerry. You said this is not the last hearing on this, that we will have some negotiations. Is that figure of 290 negotiable, or is what all is negotiable if we move forward with this today?
The entire thing. The resolution, if you go forward today, is a rather lengthy one in which Teresa and I would have to include the comments made from both the public and from the board here today. But the key provision of the resolution today would read as follows. The board authorizes preliminary designation under section 343.014 of the Ohio Revised Code to proceed with the receipt and evaluation of proposals submitted in response to the request for competitive sealed proposals to provide solid waste disposal services as a designated solid waste facility for the purpose of identifying the facilities which the board will consider for final designation. So again, what will happen is, and we actually have already done the receipt of the proposals, and I think there's just the one, isn't there? So the review process is really not going to happen. So it's really looking at that proposal, sitting down with Republic, and attempting to negotiate something. But right, the actual numbers or anything aren't established by this resolution. This is just giving permission to go forth and negotiate something. And then once that actual negotiation proposal is completed, then it will come back to the commissioners for final approval. And if the negotiations don't reach a point that you're happy with, then you can undo it. The only thing is, obviously, we are putting an expense to bring in consultants to help us out, so we are incurring expense to do this. And if you're not going to go through with it, you don't want to unnecessarily make those expenditures.
So those fees would not go into effect until once those negotiations have been completed?
Right.
And the Cleveland contract, which would basically get you back to where you are now, I believe that would be, if they rebid it and it became effective, would happen in November.
Okay. And do you have a recommendation one way or the other?
Well, I think I'd have a lot of heartburn if this was going to go on forever and ever and there was no limit to the end of the lowering of the fee. I think you have to take a close look at how it's going to impact the budget if they do act upon taking the waste and moving it out to other facilities. I'd have concerns about that because it's going to make your budget revenues to go through your budget. You're going to have to slash programs. And I think you have very good programs. Lorain County is a leader in the state in programs from the solid waste district, and to totally slash and change them, I think would be hardship on the residents. And you have a good process here. So, I'd look at the short-term versus the long term, and you'll be able to make another decision in 2.5 years.
Any other comments? At this time, is it appropriate, Jerry, we have to make a motion to close this public hearing?
Yes,
Also
Commissioner.
move.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Okay. Now, the next step would be for us to take some action as you outlined.
To move to approve the full resolution, and most significantly, that paragraph I read earlier.
Okay.
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Do we need a date certain?
No, there will be something
Okay.
more, so I will get in touch with the other consultants we've had, and we'll proceed forward with it.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, Teresa, now we're gonna go back to item number C.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
I have no further reports or additional comments this morning, thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor?
Commissioners, I do need an executive session to discuss 2 pending litigation matters and 2 threatened litigation matters.
Commissioners report.
Well, looking forward to Obama coming on Friday. Yesterday, commissioners and other 2 commissioners and myself, we had a room full of people who met with Michael Fletcher, who is a reporter from the Washington Post. So we all had a chance to tell our story about Lorain County, the challenges that we face here. We had somebody from Glide, from the college, small businesses, large businesses. Invacare called in. Team Lorain County, Steve Morey told his story. Chamber of Commerce, a little bit of everybody. So we spent quite a few hours with him and maybe even overwhelmed him a little bit, but it was a good meeting, and hopefully we'll get some press out in Washington, and Obama will listen to some of our concerns and help us out here in Lorain County.
Okay. Yeah, it was a very good meeting. Nice job, Commissioner, putting that together. Also, as I spoke earlier, we had a Solid Waste Policy Committee meeting, and we're starting to work on the issues moving forward on the next plan. It's been a busy week between the Allied and President Obama coming in. And that's about it for the report. That's it. Your turn, Commissioner.
I have no report this morning.
Okay. The Investment Advisory meeting for today has been canceled and rescheduled for February 23rd at 11 a.m. Board correspondence.
Move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Public comment?
Anyone wishing to address the board? Hobble forward or walk, as the case may be.
Ooh, be careful.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning,
David
David.
Ashenhurst, Oberlin. I thought that was an instructive discussion of solid waste issues. I guess I haven't been keeping up as much with the printed newspapers as the online stuff lately, so I haven't seen as much about this as I probably should have. But I hope the understanding of both the funding of it and the fact is that the landfill has an awful lot of useful life because about 6 years ago, without a whole lot of public input, the airspace that's available was increased to like 800 feet high, as I recall. And I brought in a picture of a 80-foot high hill of dirt in Cuyahoga County and said, we've just allowed this to make a mountain here if we don't burn it or figure out some other way to increase the life of the landfill. Something that came up at the Solid Waste Policy Committee is there is also an amount of landfill that's construction debris and things like that that are apparently exempt from that fee, and there's no real regulation that I could ascertain of how much they take in that and use landfill capacity. So that's something I hope gets a little more attention, even though it's not an effect on the budget. of solid waste, but it is, it does impact on the life of the landfill in a different way. And that's not stuff I think that'll be burned very easily. Just one other thing, I wish the number 13 and 14, in your discussions, you touched a little on Lorain County Transit and the effect that might have on it. Non-emergency medical transportation services, I assume, was not something that Lorain County Transit really ever had anything to do with. So I am sort of wondering how that budget goes up by about 50%, or more than 50%, almost 100%, 75% from apparently a total that was not to exceed $125,000 and is now not to exceed total of $235,000.
Well, I believe that's a state allocation though, David. We're just administrating. It's not local dollars there. It's Job and Family Services.
Okay, well, so it's not even coming out of general funds or anything like that?
That's all
Okay.
state money, such that comes in our Job and Family Services.
Okay, I guess.
It's federal monies that
Okay,
pass
that's
through
right.
the
Okay,
state.
yeah, it's not our money.
They, depending on the need, various services are procured. This is one of many services that are procured through Job and Family Services to assist those in need in Lorain County.
I still am a little curious how it went up so much, but number 14 doesn't really say anything about the amounts that are involved in all these various resolutions with other vendors, and I notice that it says increased value of agreements as a result of transportation, usage, childcare, and additional allocation using federal and state money. And I don't know whether that utilizing federal and state money applies to all the transportation, usage, childcare, and additional, I mean, I don't know if that applies to all of them, but I'd still be a little curious what the total value of those changes is, and usually we get amounts like that down to the cents sometimes, so
This
just a little
is
unclear.
this is a housekeeping resolution because of some changes that were requested with regard to our contracts downstairs. Each and every amendment would have had to come for a resolution on many, many, many contracts. Sometimes the changes are just a few dollars depending on balancing out the contract. So this resolution was requested so that Ms. Skolsky could amend those contracts with housekeeping needs so that we didn't have to burden down the board with tens if not hundreds of contracts that may require minor modifications, so we can be in compliance with requests from the auditors with regard to the amounts paid under those contracts.
Well, again, just the total amount that we're talking about would have been nice, and a lot of times gets provided, but, and does that all mean federal and state money is all that's being adjusted in all those things, or?
Yes, there's not, the local share that goes over to Job and Family Services is paid through what they call a mandatory share cost. And we report that on a regular basis here in the Commissioner's hearing room. It's roughly about $1.1 million right now, and you've heard us up that and lower that figure as we get the bill for our percentage share of, which is a small amount considering the hundreds of millions of dollars we receive in federal aid into Lorain County. That is the number that the board deals mostly with. The other monies that come through the state from the federal government is dealt with over at Job and Family Services.
Do we really get hundreds of millions of dollars in federal aid?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
Is that on an annual basis?
If you look at all in on the county budget, I mean, not just the general fund, people always concentrate on the general fund. I think it's about $600 million. Jerry, which one?
Yep, right
About
around 600 million, that's a number.
Okay.
MRDD and everybody.
Right, everybody, MRDD gets money, Children's Services gets money.
Excuse me, Development
Job-
Disabilities now.
Pardon me?
Development Disabilities,
I
please.
apologize. I worked there at one time, it's an old habit, I apologize, but but if you look at the whole magnitude of the complete budget, and, you know, the auditor's office deals with a huge amount of responsibility, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 600 million. Again, the papers like to report on the general fund, it's 55 million or 60. That's merely one of our funds that we deal with. It's the one that gets the most attention, but then you have to look at levy funds that run into the tens of millions of dollars, and so something like 911 or even the health department passes through the auditor's offices in the county budget, although they are mostly a freestanding entity. So it's, I think 600 million
Green
plus is a
Acres,
good figure.
or Golden Acres, and
Right.
Dog Kennel, all those.
Well, that is instructive, and I hope we do as good a job as we can of explaining how that gets here and why a county that just turned down a sales tax increase seems surprised that transportation is being curtailed, including.
Well,
what we
if
could have
they're
gotten
surprised,
from
if they're
the
surprised
feds.
by that, they're going to be utterly shocked by what happens by the end of the year. So, it's unfortunate, but you know, we have to abide by the wishes that we were told that what the community wanted. But it is interesting. I think you brought up a good point, because most people don't realize that this Board of Commissioners is the budgetary authority for well over $500 million worth of expenditures and monies. Some of it's rather routines, but they do have that budgetary authority as the legislative body of the county for those vast amounts of funds.
Thank you.
Are you feeling better?
Yes.
Good.
I've got some bend in the brace.
Anybody else? Rob?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Rob Scheitauer, Lorain County Township Association President. I did not think I would be standing up here again so soon. I just left the January 11th organizational meeting asking the Commissioners to consider joining the Lorain County Township Association as associate members and to consider attending our association meetings. I also stated that if we all work together as a unit, Lorain County would benefit. If the Commissioners don't mind, I'd like to ask all the Lorain County Association members if they would please stand for a moment. I'd like to thank the association members for attending this morning, this meeting, taking the time. Thank you very much. This is a good indication on how important this issue is to our association that I will be speaking about this morning. In the past, the Lorain County Township Association has always chosen the township representative to NOACA. This was done at our November 19th meeting, 2009, that was held in Pittsfield Township. Mark McConnell made a motion to appoint Rita Canfield as our NOACA representative. The motion was seconded by Rick Conrad. The motion was carried. I'd like to give the Board of Commissioners a copy of the Lorain County Township Association minutes appointing Rita Canfield to the NOACA Governing Board, if I may.
Thank you.
I received a letter from the Lorain County Board of Commissioners dated January 12th, 2010, stating the Board of the Lorain County Commissioners appointed Virginia Haynes of the Lorain County Community Development Department as a township representative to NOACA. Term expires December 31st, 2010. This appointment has stirred up a hornet's nest within our association. I'd like to read a portion of Article 4, Section 4.2 of the NOACA Code of Regulations. This article specifies the composition of the NOACA Governing Board. The Board of Commissioners within each county shall be responsible for assuring appropriate representation according to this section. Recognizing the goal for representation, dues procedure, and compliance within each county and the agency's mission. This does not state that the Board of Commissioners shall appoint the appropriate representative, but simply assigns responsibility for assuring appropriate representation according to this section. As president of the Lorain County Township Association, I assure you that this association is very capable of appointing our own NOACA Township representative. In the past, the commissioners never formalized the appointment of the township representative to NOACA without prior consultation to the Township Association. I'm asking the commissioners to reconsider this appointment and let our association continue to choose our own NOACA representative as we have in the past. I feel that when the commissioners took this action and overrode our appointment, we took a step backwards in working towards this betterment of Lorain County. I'm asking the county commissioners to go into executive session under the Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, public meetings / exceptions, along with the Lorain County Township Association officers present here today to discuss the NOACA appointment. My invitation still stands for one of the county commissioners to attend our association meeting tomorrow evening in Rochester Township at 7:30 p.m. You have my word again. I will conduct all association meetings in a professional manner. Our meetings will not consist of debating issues. In closing, I would like to ask the county commissioners if any of our association members present could step up to the podium if they wish to share their thoughts on this issue.
Thank you, Rob. Good morning, Dale.
Good morning, Madam Chairman, and the rest of the board. As you know, when I first got into the trustee's job, there was a lady that said,
1800?
yes, I got in about 2 years after you got out, but that's okay. We won't go into that, because I know men age a lot more faster than women do. I know that. But anyhow, I was privileged to work with a gentleman by the name of Dean Hitchens. And he was on our NOACA board at that time. And if I'm not mistaken, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Betty, but didn't he sort of formulate NOACA, or work with the formulation of NOACA when it came into effect?
No, NOACA was officially formed in 1968.
Right, and he became a trustee in '65, so I think it's close.
I think
But he was on the board at that
He's
time.
also the president of NOACA.
Yes, yeah. He was with Mr. Pizdaz, I
Yeah,
realize that. Okay, now, he had always taught me one thing. He says, listen to your elders, and he was older than I at that time. Of course, I'm pretty caught up with him. But anyhow, he said, one thing you don't want to give up. He says, Lorain County is the only county in NOACA that has a trustee representative, and that's from the Lorain County Township Association. And they come up with a candidate, and then in turn it goes to the county commissioners for recognition and to be put on NOACA. And he says, whatever you do, keep that position. So that's the reason I'm speaking today. I would like to keep that position as a township representative from the association making such a challenge. Thank you.
I'd just like to say two things. Medina County has a township trustee as a representative. And just to expand upon what you said, and just as a comment, I hear what you're saying and I understand what you're saying, but we haven't asked someone who's not a township elected official to fill this position.
You're correct, ma'am. You did not. But I always thought our county employees on the payroll, it would be better if you had someone that you didn't have to pay for, and they wouldn't miss their 3 to 4 hours work. That they'd be a good candidate for job openings if they were in the private sector. So that's what our thought is.
But she's still an elected township official.
That's not the problem. The problem is the county association had their own representative. And since we were the ones that were supposed to make that recommendation, if we had a problem with the recommendation, we could have talked to the county again, to the sales association, and resolved the problem that way instead of appointing someone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
Somebody had brought up that there, normally when you give us a recommendation that there's also an alternate, is that something that is something that has to be done, or is that optional? Was that optional?
Commissioner Lorain, from what I read in the NOACA regulations under I, letter I, it does stipulate there should be an alternate.
Yeah, you're Ted's alternate.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, is their recommendation to the board, should they have given us an alternate besides Rita to choose from? That's what I'm asking.
They could have, they didn't.
No, we didn't do it at that time. So,
And not to argue with Robert, I got the regulations, I printed them out this morning and left them there.
yeah.
In that 4.2 section, the Board of Commissioners within each county shall be responsible for assuring appropriate representation according to this section. Recognize the goal for representation, dues, procedures, and compliance within each county and the agency's mission. So the appointment is the Board of Commissioners with each county shall be responsible. Am I reading that correctly, Jerry? Because I talked to Rob and I talked to Jim McConnell yesterday about the duties of appointing.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the determination as to how these are appointed rests with NOACA, and it's my understanding that their counsel has indicated that he believes the authority belongs to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you for letting us speak this morning, and I hope we can maybe have the executive session if you have time this morning.
Once the the nomination was made, is it irreversible at this point? I mean, can you change the appointment?
Anything can be done. Someone can vacate a seat or resign or whatever. I mean, that's in the process. I mean, I have to step down from TAC because my responsibility is a state organization. So.
I'm sorry.
Rob, I had told you when I talked to you earlier this week that I kind of had to stay out of this because I am just Ted's alternate. I've only attended one NOACA meeting. He's been able to attend all of them. He's only asked me to, get involved one time. So I didn't think it was my place to make that decision. So, I deferred to the two members of NOACA and my board.
I'm sorry, I didn't know Marcia Funk wanted to make a comment.
Okay.
Marcia,
Okay, I'm
good
sorry.
morning.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I thought just to make it clear to everybody that was here, on the November 19th meeting, there were a lot of township members there. It was busy. They had to set up extra tables. A lot of times, they might only be 15, 20 actual trustees or fiscal officers there. It was a largely attended meeting. I only stayed through, I wasn't there for this issue, I only stayed through the election of the officers, and then I had to leave. But there were a lot of people at that meeting. And I wanted to read from, there was an email that Jim McConnell evidently sent to at least Betty that I know of. And I feel that people ought to hear this. You may consider our appointment as some sort of personal affront, but again, I can say with confidence it was not intended that way. I can say with certainty that your snub of our appointment and subsequent appointment of one of your employees to that position, without even so much as a phone call to Rob Scheitauer, President of the Lorain County Township Association, to express your concerns, will without question be viewed as an arrogant slap in the face to all of the township officials in this county. Lorain County townships may not carry the political muscle of the municipal areas in the county, but they are not insignificant in assisting and finding solutions to the economic problems we are all facing. It appears very obvious to us that you as commissioners would not have taken a similar action regarding any of the 3 NOACA municipal appointments from Lorain County. So once again, it is easy to believe that the townships of Lorain County are perceived to be second-class citizens by our elected commissioners. Your action sends the clear message that you can ignore the township's wishes because politically there is little consequence, but you wouldn't think of treating the county municipalities in a like manner because you do need their cooperation. At the January 11th Commissioners meeting, Rob Scheitauer extended an invitation to the commissioners and a commitment from the Lorain County Township Association to work more closely together. In no way was the appointment of our representative to NOACA intended or expected to undermine our willingness to work together. The Board of Commissioners' action in the curt, impersonal, take it or leave it way in which it was handled will, without question, effectively slam the door in the face of the townships. It will take a very long time to repair such a perceived affront. On the other hand, a movement by the commissioners to try to resolve this issue will be a clear indication that the townships do matter and you do respect our rights as political entities within the framework of governance of Lorain County. Don't pass up this golden opportunity to improve relationships here rather than make a bad situation worse. And again, that was written by Jim McConnell. I have been very active in the Lorain County Township Association for the 14 years that I've been a fiscal officer. I served as president. At one point, we always had representatives from the commissioner's office at our meetings, if not one of the commissioners. In the last probably 4 to 6 years, we could probably count on one hand or 2 hands when there was anybody from the commissioner's offices. We've always had people from, the engineer's office, the auditor's office, the sheriff's department, every other thing, but there was just uncooperation, it seemed, or unwillingness for you folks to show up. So that's why Rob had come to the meeting on the 11th to ask, that you become active with our group. The other thing that I'd like to point out for people that aren't aware of it is because townships are all nonpartisan, at one point, I didn't know whether my trustees were Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, whatever they were. We worked together, and I have never been involved in anything in the County Township Association where it was deemed to be a political move. It is just something that was done for who is active in our association, of which Rita has been active for the 14 years that I've been on there. At one point, Virginia was active. In the last 3 or 4 years, she has not been. And it's just a case where I have never seen anything done for a political reason. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Anyone else?
Good morning, Commissioners. First off, I do want to clarify something on the alternate because there is some confusion here as to how that alternate is appointed. I believe I overheard the comment, I'm not sure where it came from, that the townships did not appoint an alternate. There's a reason for that. You appoint your representative to the NOACA board. The NOACA Code of Regulations, specifically under 4.2 Division I, specify that each person who is a member of the governing board, that's the governing board of NOACA, shall designate an alternate to act in the absence of such member. And if the appointment that the commissioners have chosen at this point stands, it will be that individual that chooses the alternate, not the association, not the Board of Commissioners. So again, that's within NOACA's regulations. And I heard Attorney Mr. Ennis mentioned what the legal counsel for the NOACA board stated, and I imagine they did, and that may be their interpretation at this time, but I'm aware that when you talk with legal advisors, you talk with judges, that after they hear all the information present, that sometimes, you know, their mind shifts a little bit in how they might give out an opinion as to what a regulation is, and perhaps if they looked at this a little bit more closely, they might be apt to change that opinion of what the current NOACA Code of Regulations state. And I think it's important that perhaps for people that are watching this is that they know we keep throwing around these terms NOACA because it's something that those of us that have been around for a while are comfortable with. But we need to understand that NOACA is just an acronym for the Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency. And we have to ask, well, why is anyone even concerned with that? It just sounds, is this just another group that you go in and have coffee and donuts, or does it really mean something? Well, obviously it always comes down to funding, and that funding and providing services for the areas that you represent. And NOACA is the regional organization of local officials responsible for carrying out transportation and environmental planning under local direction in accordance with federal and state mandates, and that's directly out of NOACA's mission statement. Now, I guess we have to get to the actual confusion here, or the muddied regulation that can lead to multiple interpretations by different groups. And that's what Commissioner Kalo referenced, section 4.2, and he certainly read it and read it appropriately. I assume you must have it in front of you. I don't know how you can.
I left it sitting in my office when working on allied stuff. I had to send my assistant to go get it. So.
Well, good. And Commissioner Kalo, the portion that you read there, which is accurate, says that the Board of Commissioners within each county shall be responsible for assuring appropriate representation according to this section, recognizing the goal of representation. Well, I go through in the same Code of Regulations, I read through NOACA's goals, and goal number 8 says, foster intergovernmental and private sector relationships to strengthen the regional community and assist in plan implementation. And I think as the president of the Lorain County Township Association has aptly pointed out, in addition to fiscal officer Marcia Funk from Brownhelm Township, is that if we let this appointment stand, and unfortunately it's created an awkward situation, it's not a situation that's really fostering intergovernmental sector relationships. I think we can see there's some tension created here. You know, and there's also the confusion, why are we doing something different? And that's not really a resistance to change, it's just that you have to analyze this. If something did change, you sense there's a reason there was a change. A reason of a change from why did we deviate from what the past was. And in the past, Lorain County Township Association, which has representation from every township in Lorain County, has chosen their representative to the NOACA board, as they did again in November of 2009, when we recognized that the current representative, who was previously from New Russia Township, had lost his re-election. And again, in NOACA's Code of Regulations, it specifies that it has to be an elected official that is a representative on this governing board of 38 people. And we are fortunate in Lorain County because further in the NOACA Code of Regulations, the board representations based on county population. And fortunately, here in Lorain County, we get 7 representatives out of that 38-member board, assuming we don't see weighted voting and whatever they've negotiated out since then. I'm also concerned that why the commissioners won't accept the township's representative, because I would assume in most cases, if not all, is that our goals should be the same. We're talking transportation and environmental for our citizens. So I don't know if this board has some concern that the township's chosen representative, is there anything in that representative's makeup that you would think would be contrary to what the Board of Commissioners would
Neil,
want?
Come on, seriously? Seriously? Are you asking that question? Because that's the second reason why I stayed out of the discussions or the vote or anything on this matter, and you're asking, did something change? Well, I don't know if ever in the past that you had a township trustee that ran against both of the commissioners in the past. And I'm not going to say that, you know, because she's a Republican or anything, because I like Rita. I think she's an outstanding person, and I can actually consider her a friend. But she never ran against me. So let's call it what it is. And that's probably part of the reason, would you not think?
Well,
There
it may
has to
be,
a com-
but
I want to add to Commissioner
Sure.
Gowski. There's a comfortability issue when you're talking about attracting federal funds here. And for everyone who has paid attention in NOAC the last few years, it's not been a very conducive place when we've had Cuyahoga County holding the
Right.
big stick over our head. And we've had to stick very strong. Actually, the mayor of Elyria, Bill Grace, actually went against the county contingency when it came to either withdrawing or eliminating the weighted vote. And it was very difficult. I mean, we fought and bartered and worked very hard on getting the Lear Road interchange so they can have the new build out there for the benefit of the county. And working through NOAC, it is a very close-knit group, and Mr. Pakush did a great job. Never had any issues. But when you have a trust level where you have to negotiate, Commissioner Blair brought it up that that was the appointment and that we had the ability to change, and asked me if I would agree to that, and I agreed. Because I don't have a trust level from what has happened in the past politically, and I don't bring politics here, and I don't think there's any township trustee can say I have for my Board of Commissioners seat. But when we are working to negotiate and do a better job for the county, you need a certain trust level there that I don't believe I could have with your pick. And I believe Commissioner Blair has the same thoughts. That's how it got brought up.
Because of personal attacks and things.
Correct. It wasn't just about business or, so I mean, in the case of doing the best for Lorain County and all 304,000 of us here, there probably could have been more sensitivity on the Township Association's pick on what could have happened or was going to be, knowing that Betty and I both serve on NOAC and are very out front about it and have done battle with them trying to do the best for our county, that you might have come up with a better appointment to work with us.
Well, I appreciate that, but this has come from a totally different direction. I'm honest when I say that. I was thinking more from, is there some difference in the transportation and environmental needs here of the county? Now it's been made clear to me it's because somebody doesn't feel there's a trust, because in our democratic system, which thank God our forefathers set up, was we allow people to run for elected office. And because of that, it sometimes becomes very personal and very difficult. But I hope that those personal relationships are also very similar to family relationships. As some of you know, I come from a very large family. In that family, there were 7 boys. Unfortunate for my 2 sisters, there were 7 of us, but there were 7 of us. And you put 7 boys together, you're bound to have conflict. We fought like cats and dogs. But the one thing was, when we were in another group that we might have thought was a situation where we were standing up for our family, we stood together. And I would expect that the township's representative, their chosen representative in this instance, would stand up for Lorain County and for the betterment of Lorain County and work together with this board and with the 2 commissioners that are also part of this board. I wouldn't see that conflict. But if this Board of Commissioners had a difficulty with that trust, I would have thought that they would have at least contacted the Lorain County Townships Association to let them know of their concerns, so that they could have a meeting between the association and the township selected representative. Now we'd have a difficult decision. Do we make a change? But we certainly could have had that option. As it was, you talk about trust. How much trust do you build when you didn't even extend the hand to mention your concerns before you made the decision? That, to me, is difficult in looking for trust. So I guess I missed the boat here. I didn't realize, as much as you may protest, It's not a political decision. It sounds like, from your own mouths, it is a political decision.
No, it was for the benefit of the 300,000 here who you can work the best with.
Well, there's...
And we believe there are other people that we can work better with for the benefit of everyone.
Mhm. Well, it would have been nice, Commissioner
And I don't want
Kalo,
to speak for Betty. I don't want to speak for Betty, so.
And maybe
in my case.
I think maybe a courtesy to the township president would have been a better idea instead of just, going forward like it happened, but maybe, I don't know, we have so much going on all the time, maybe, I don't know. It was probably an oversight.
and it could be, I can see that. You have quite a bit of business here, and I know you can get caught up in that, but, it's been brought forward. Our president, Rob Scheitauer, has asked that there be some reconsideration. He's asked to participate in that so that we could possibly work something out. Again, I think there's an over-concern with the selection that the townships made, because I truly believe that all of you as professional individuals can put your personal baggage or past history aside and work on what's best for Lorain County and the citizens of Lorain County. Of that 304,000 that you mentioned, the citizens here in Lorain County, 20% of those citizens are from townships. So I think it's important that they have a voice also, and a voice that their elected representatives feel is truly going to represent them. I don't think with the township selection that you're really going to have the difficulty or even the trust that you're referring to. I guess I just don't see that. And I don't think that we always have to be of the same mind. Sometimes we have to value those differences because it opens it to logical and informed debate that perhaps together then when you're at NOACA you can operate as a block, and maybe even if there's some discord between you, you know what you're going to run up to in your resistance from the big bad gorilla over in Cuyahoga County, and hopefully if we have any disagreement it's coming from there and not from our own home here, as we did have, and it wasn't the township rep, as Commissioner Kalo has pointed out, who not only voted against the change in the weighted vote, but voted against the interchange that was so badly needed to alleviate a traffic congestion area in the city of Avon, in addition to promoting the economic development in that area. That means jobs to our area. That's where I think you really should look at it. And if you want to bring that up, and we want to hold a 4.2 and say that gives this body the ability to choose those representatives, perhaps you ought to be looking for a different representative then from the city of Elyria, because that section applies to everything.
Though it was Mayor Grace who brought forth who in the end he voted with the rest of the contingency, and then while he was president he brought forth the
weighted vote change.
The weighted vote change, and then he negotiated it with each of the 5 counties that made the change that exists today. So, sometimes you have to work through things, so, I have to give the devil his due.
And that's probably a good way to justify the townships having their representatives so you can work through things. All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Neil. Mary Beth?
Mary Beth Derricato, Huntington Township. I wasn't going to say anything, but then when the issue of trust came up, I felt compelled to speak up. Virginia Haynes is a good friend of mine. I value her friendship. However, she is a county employee. And as such, even though I'm sure she will do, if you continue with this appointment, she will do an excellent job and do the best she can, there will be a perception that her loyalty is divided. So I strongly urge you to reconsider this and work with the Township Association to appoint a representative that is acceptable to us and you as well.
I guess county
Thank you.
employees are just not to be trusted.
Unfortunately,
I guess county
Commissioner,
employees are just not to be trusted.
unfortunately, Commissioner, that is an issue, and when I was trying to encourage people to pass the increase in the sales tax, that was the main reason they voted against it.
Anybody else? Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your attendance. I move we go into executive session for the purposes outlined by the county administrator and Mr. Ennis.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.
Pedestrian injuries represent the second largest number in motor-related deaths. In the current report by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, of the 812 traffic fatalities for children ages 5 to 9, almost one-third, that's 254, were pedestrian fatalities. These numbers were just very staggering to me in this office. Most of these were from pedestrian crossings, children not educated in crossing streets where there are sidewalks and obviously stoplights, or where there are no sidewalks and there are stop signs. So basically, it was based on the fact that they aren't getting proper education, or they hadn't any education on how to cross streets with sidewalks or without sidewalks. So that's what really got us motivated to look into this and do something about it.
County Engineer's Office is quite proud to announce that the Safe Routes to School program has been initiated throughout Lorain County. We're very excited about this. To help these children from grades K to 4, teaching them to walk the streets safely is very important to us. We've seen statistics that quite frankly shock us. Many times we read and see stories of pedestrians being hit by automobiles in Lorain County, and it just tears my heart to see these children from K to 4 part of that. This program is to stop that, to help diminish those type of situations and educate these children on crossing the street safely. And we're quite happy to announce that.
Most of our workshop was developed and made in-house. Simulated sidewalks, simulated streets. We have actual working stoplights. We have the pedestrian crossing signs that actually work. We have operational railroad crossings. We also have the regular road signs like your pedestrian crossing, your stop sign, your railroad sign. So we have all of these different things that the children can not only visualize, but then we actually interact the children in those situations so they can not only see, but they can use these in their learning abilities on how to cross the streets with and without sidewalks. We've had so many good responses back from the children, and of course it's just like anything else with children. When you ask for volunteers, when you're talking in a group of 60 and you can only have 8, it's amazing at the hands that go up. You know, does anybody want to volunteer? Well, everybody wants to volunteer. We make them go over these skills that we're trying to teach them, not only the volunteers, but the group as a whole. So basically we have the whole class interacting. So if they say left, right, left, behind you, in front of you once, they say it at least 8 or 10 times before the workshop is over. So we've had many teachers and many principals tell us, and we even had one child that came up to us and said, you know what, Miss Spansky, we were going to cross the street the other day and we remembered, look left, look right, look left. So that was very rewarding. And so I think the repetition, the interaction with the children and with the items in our workshop is very important to them and to us. Before you even go into the safety part of it, they're in awe over the traffic light, and then our railroad crossing signals actually work. So they're just like, oh, ooh. And we get up there and we tell them, and we even give them some trick questions. You know, we'll say, well, we can see that train all the way down the track. Do you think we can make it, because you're fast and I'm fast and we can run? And of course they're very enthusiastic and no, we shouldn't do this. So we teach them that in some urban areas you will not have the gates that come down to keep you actually from crossing, that you may just have two sets of tracks, and just because one goes by and the signals stop doesn't mean that another one can't come from the other direction. So we tell them it's very, very imperative that they stay back from the tracks and they wait till those signals stop and to look both ways. And even once those signals stop, to look both ways, and they should never run across the railroad tracks. They should walk and continue to look both ways, because it's not safe and they could fall. They could injure themselves if they're alone, if they're not with someone. It could be very dangerous, because not only could they injure themselves, they may not have help if there is a train coming, because they are so small. And as you know, some of those tracks are very large, and you're talking in kindergarten through 4th grade, some of those children are very small children. The main thing is that we tell them that only you know when it's safe. You have to make that ultimate decision. So make sure that you know that it's safe before you cross those railroad tracks or a street. One of the other things that we cover in the safety workshop, and it's also repeated in our video, children don't have that perception of the miles per hour. It's very dangerous. And the same thing with trains. We tell them that train could take, forever. It's way down there, but we don't know the actual miles per hour. We decided to use 2 different videos. The first one is geared for kindergarten and 1st grade, and that is Otto the Otto, put out by AAA.
Hi kids! A lot of times you have to walk to get to places. And when you're walking, you have to be especially careful of cars and bicycles. Oh no! Those kids are walking the wrong way! That's dangerous! I'm going to talk with these kids. Down at the clubhouse, they're talking about the safe way to walk on streets without sidewalks.
I say you can walk across the street anywhere you want, as long as you look first. And don't get squished flat by a car. That's a fairly simple way of looking at safety. There are actual rules and laws for walking. Yeah, but the most important one is you don't get squished flat. Who's right, Maggie? Patrick or us?
I guess in a sense, everyone's right. The main idea is to get there safely, but there are some rules to help you get there safely, like don't run out into the street without looking.
The second video, we show 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, and it is put together by the National Safety Council along with Honda, and they developed the first humanoid robot.
Hey, Osmo. What's up, Osmo? How's it going? Osmo, this is Michael. Michael, this is Osmo.
How come you dressed in a robot suit? It's not a suit. I'm a real robot. My name, Osimo, stands for Advanced Step in Innovative Mobility. I'm the world's most advanced humanoid robot. I can walk forwards, backwards, and even climb stairs just like a human. So, what's the first rule about crossing the street?
Stopping at curbs.
Correct. First, always stop at the curb. Then make sure no cars are coming. You want to look left.
It's clear.
Then right to see if any cars are coming from the other direction.
That's clear too.
Cars move fast. There might already be a new car to the left. So look left again.
Car coming.
See what I mean?
Okay, he's gone.
Kids love this. They relate to Osmo, as well as the younger children relate to Otto, who is an animated automobile, and he tells them about crossing streets. Osmo does the same thing, and he actually goes through with the children and tells them how to cross the street at an intersection with a traffic light, with a pedestrian crossing. He also teaches them how to cross, because a lot of children at schools have parked cars. He goes over the issues of how to cross when there are parked cars. So he does a number of different things, how to cross the street when there are no sidewalks. So they both cover the basic skills. One is just geared a little bit more for the different age groups. Our response has been amazing, not only from the children. We have received numerous cards. I have a whole box of thank yous from children from the schools where we have that have participated in our workshop. We've had nothing but a positive response back throughout the communities that we visited this year.
I think it was really nice because they had a real life robot talk to you about safety, and you got to actually do what he said was safe. He said when there are parked cars to make sure there are no drivers in before you cross the street.
I saw that we could know what to do when there's like cars coming, not to go in the middle of the road so you don't get hurt. You have to look left, right, left, behind the shoulder, and then straight. If they don't know how to stop at sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to. If they don't know how to cross without sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to do that too, because that's what we learned. I think that it was good because I didn't know that you had the 5 ways, which were left, right, left, and then over your shoulder, and then ahead of you. I thought that crossing the road was really good for little kids if they don't know what to do by crossing the road.
It's a good idea because, like I said, the kids could walk through the whole process of crossing streets with the crosswalk, without a crosswalk, at the intersection. What happens if you're crossing in between 2 parked cars? Those are things that parents don't teach their kids. They go to Safety Town and they learn left, look right, look left again, and they go. And even my own son, who's a kindergartner, he just did Safety Town, and I still catch him flying across the street. And all I have to do is say, Matthew, remember Osimo? And he stops and he thinks and he does all the steps that he was taught in the video.
It was a great refresher, especially for them, now knowing, what to do and kind of even additional things that they may not have been told or considered before.
Most of the kids did their little safety program back when they were getting ready to go to kindergarten. They start out learning all those safety rules. Then as time goes on, if you don't reinforce those safety rules and keep telling them, just like we do as adults, we think we're safe. We don't have to follow those rules anymore. We can do what we want. We can take a chance and run across the road. And I think this program was very good at reinforcing the fact that even though we're growing up, we still have to be careful. We still have to follow the signs. We still have to follow the railroad crossings, especially around here in Amherst. We tend to have a little trouble with the railroad crossings and kids wanting to play on them. So I think it was a good review. I think it was done in a fun, learning way, and the kids really enjoyed it. We were very happy to have everyone here at St. Joseph's School. If it saves one life, we feel like we've made a contribution. It's our way to give back to the communities.
Hello, my fellow commissioners and I are here at the Lorain County Dog Kennel on Hathaway Street, just south of Elyria City Discount, Value City. We invite you to stop out and see the facility here. We have lots of dogs available for adoption. We also encourage all dog owners to register your dog each year and get a dog license. That's your dog's ticket home in case it gets lost. It has a number,
and can easily be identified so that your dog can be returned to you in case he or she might take a little walk and you are unaware of it.
Along with the regular licensing that the county requires for all dogs, we also have a special dog license. It's a special heart medical care license tag for an additional $5. And the proceeds from that go to help us when we pick up a stray that's injured, hurt, or needs extreme medical care. It helps defer the cost for us. So next time you get your dog license, please pick up the special heart tag.
The Lorain County Commissioners would like to welcome you to come down to the Lorain County Dog Kennel. We also have a website that you can check out. Just click on Dogs to Adopt. There's plenty of dogs to choose from. It's like this little girl right here. This is Sadie. You can come down, make sure it's a good match for you, take the dog out, take it for a walk. But please, if you're thinking about adopting a dog, come out to the Lorain County Dog Kennel and see if there's a match for you.
Give the Lorain County Dog Kennel a call or check their website for photos of currently available dogs. Remember, your best friend is just waiting for you.